Hello, you're watching the Tropics Topics of September the 6th, 2018. We're still monitoring the Atlantic quite closely right now. Not really related to Gordon anymore. Gordon is currently over Arkansas and is currently a tropical depression. It's probably going to dissipate by tomorrow, but we'll just still be just delivering some rain to the area. The main concern right now is Hurricane Florence, which is a Category 1 hurricane now, and has significantly weakened since yesterday with winds of 80 miles per hour and a pressure of about 989 millibars, as well as two waves that are likely to form pretty soon. This one, Invest 92L, could form as early as tomorrow. It has a 90% chance of developing over the next 5 days, and this wave that's about to emerge off Africa could also develop sometime this weekend or early next week. 80% chance of development over the next 5 days. So here's kind of a wide shot of the Atlantic right here. We can see Gordon over here of Arkansas just producing some rain, just being kind of a fuel for rain, not really a concern anymore. Florence, which will be the main talk of today's video, and these other two invests, you can kind of see at the beginning of the loop. Here's 92L right here, and then 90, and then not 93L yet. It's not an invest yet, but the other wave here emerging off the coast of Africa right now. So let's get into Florence. Not looking too great today. Yesterday it was a very well-defined hurricane, became a Category 4 hurricane with winds of 130 miles per hour. Since then it has fallen off quite a bit, as you can clearly see here in the run, in this loop here. And you can see that all this convection is being sheared from the southwest. It's being sheared towards the northeast. And as a result, the system has weakened quite substantially by about 50 miles per hour since yesterday. But it's not giving up quite yet. It's still putting up a pretty big fight. You can see here that it's producing pretty vigorous convection still over the center, which is becoming exposed every now and then, but it's still trying. This storm is still trying to make sure that it's not being fully exposed. We can kind of see that here in this loop from Weather Nerds. We can't really see it. You can see more lightning over here, but these little white specks here, like you can see them right in there. Those individual yellow specks are individual lightning bolts, and you can see that a lot of them kind of go up here, and that means that the storm is pretty robust. Tropical cyclones don't usually see quite a bit of lightning in their cores, so to see something like that happen is showing me at least that this storm is not giving up quite yet. And then you can see obviously more in the strong convective bands towards the east. Now, where is this shear coming from? Well, if we can see here in this water vapor loop, we can see it's kind of hard to see in this loop exactly, but there's this kind of this upper trough that extends across the Atlantic, and it's starting to induce some shear onto Florence's core. Good news is right now it's not really impacting land areas quite yet. You can see how far it is away from the Leeward Islands, well away from these islands, so it's not a threat to them right now. However, this could change over the next couple days, and we'll get into that in a minute. But if we go back here, we can still kind of see that even though it's weakened, it's likely to intensify as we get into tomorrow. You can see here the convection is still beginning to come over the core, and that tells me that the storm is really trying. And once the shear kind of lightens up, then that will be a pretty big harbinger that it is going to intensify a bit more. As you can see here, right now, shear in this sounding from Tropical Tidbits from the HWRF model, you can see here that shear is about 30 knots at maximum across the storm. And this is in a generalized area, so it's not just specifically over the core, but that is the level of shear right now. 30 knots is definitely enough to weaken it from a well-defined Category 4 hurricane to barely a Category 1. Now let's look at the ECMWF model. Now, this is where things are going to be a bit hairy, so I want you to please not focus too much on the exact positioning, because this storm, we really do not know anything about where it's going. If you see you're going to see some things online potentially that'll say otherwise, but we really do not know where this is going. So take everything I say here with a grain of salt, because the forecast for this storm, it has a higher than normal amount of uncertainty, and that's saying a lot. So you can see here, this is tomorrow. Here's Florence right here on the run. You can see that upper trough is kind of, you can't really see, it's kind of harder to see, but it's kind of indentation here between these two ridges right here. This is what's currently shearing the storm right now. It's just an opposite flow really at the upper levels that's causing it to be sheared, excuse me. And you can see here that this ridge here over the eastern United States is pretty robust. And we can also see over here, there's this trough that's dipping down from, emerging off the Hudson Bay into eastern Canada. That'll be dipping down, as we can see here on Sunday. this trough kind of dips down here over maritime Canada, over Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. Now, typically, a storm that is in Florence's position would run into a trough like this and recurve out to sea. Because if we go back to this wide shot water vapor loop, you can see here that it's very far away from land. It's halfway between basically the Leeward Islands and the Azores, maybe a tad bit closer to Leeward Islands. But anyway, storms in this position pretty much always recurve on out to sea and don't impact any land areas at all, except for maybe the Azores. The forecast for Florence isn't very clear cut with this, though. There's a bit of a wrench in this model, and that's that this ridge over here, over central Canada, is going to build in from the east, build in over the portion kind of up near New England, and start to kind of push the trough a little bit more out to sea and not really allow it to dip down as far. And it's going to build in a little bit underneath. This is a problem because this means that the storm doesn't have a very clear-cut path out to sea, and instead it's going to get caught underneath this ridging in between the storm and the trough, and it's going to steer it towards the west. And even in this model run from the Eastern WF, there's a little bit of a southward component, even looks like. And then here's 120 hours, excuse me. You can see here this is Tuesday morning. It's centered in this run to the south-southwest of Bermuda, and there's a very strong ridge to the north of it. There's only one place the storm can go in this situation, and that is towards the west and the west-northwest, which unfortunately in this model run makes the storm creates this storm to have a landfall in North Carolina. Now, again, this is a very far out solution, so please take everything I'm showing you, again, with a grain of salt, because nothing is set in stone for the storm quite yet. You can see here, day 6, the bridge starts to build in more behind the storm, and it gets forced into the United States. And in this model run, it kind of lingers offshore for a little bit longer. Now, we'll talk about those storms in the main development region in a second. And that's just the European model run. And here is the GFS run showing a similar situation, that the ridge over here over Canada starts to build in from the west, pushes east, and forces this trough out and saying that it cannot pull Florence out. This model run doesn't have it moving a bit closer to Bermuda, and Bermuda is the area of land that we're going to have to watch for impacts first, as opposed to the United States. And as you can see here, the GFS wants to bring it into the United States as well, but that model run is even farther out than the Euro run. So either way, Florence is a storm that we have to keep a very wary eye on for the next at least 5 days, and until say Sunday and Monday are going to be 2 crucial days, because this is when the trough starts to dip down into Canada, and by Monday we will know for sure that if the ridge is strong enough, then it will force this trough out and will not allow Florence to just recurve harmlessly out to sea, with the exception of potentially an impact to Bermuda or Newfoundland. That does not seem to be the case here. By Monday we will know. If the trough fails to pull Florence out to sea, then the chances of this thing getting jammed in the United States go up a lot. And I don't say this to scare you, I'm saying this to let you know that this is a potential that could happen, and something that you need to be paying very close attention to, because if the storm does impact the United States, there could be some serious problems. Again, very far out into the future, so you do have time to prepare. And so here's the National Hurricane Center forecast going right here. You can see that even 5 days out, this is Tuesday, it's still in the vicinity of Bermuda. And Bermuda could also be seeing potentially a major hurricane very nearby the island. So they need to be very vigilant to the storm as well, though fortunately, for them at least, the cone has been shifting south in recent advisories. Now, you can see here, this is still 5 days. Nowhere in the United States is within the cone yet. So you still have a week plus to prepare for this storm, and considering that by the time it's going to be moving near Bermuda, it's going to be the peak of the season. So always have your hurricane preparations ready just in case. We really have no idea where the storm is going. Just to prove that to you, here are the ensembles from the GFS, all showing it kind of moving on out to sea. This one seems a bit more clear cut, but then here's the Euro. Literally a huge range of solutions here, that all of which need to be taken, with some sort of merit, because even if the storm moves in this general direction like it's supposed to, it could still curve on out to sea somehow. It could move a bit farther south, there is a huge, wide range of tracks where the storm could possibly go. So for now, we just need to keep an eye on Florence and not be too worried just yet. But again, just making sure that the better situation would be for the storm to obviously recurve. But at this point, that does not seem like it could be the case. So again, just keeping a wary eye on Florence, and I'll have more updates on her as we progress. So that's Florence. Moving on to the two waves in the main development region, I'll specifically be talking about Invest 92L here, which you can see is a pretty well-defined wave. It's still kind of elongated in nature with its convection, although it does have a generally closed low at the surface. You can see here in this ASCAP pass from earlier, you can see that the circulation is closed but elongated and pretty broad, and the convection isn't very consolidated either. So this does not yet fit the qualifications for a tropical depression, but it should very soon. In fact, it could happen as early as tomorrow, as this wave continues to move off towards the west. You can see that here in the GFS model. Here's 48 hours out. This is Saturday. We have a bona fide tropical storm in the main development region that's going to just continue to move towards the west. And you can see even behind that, this is the wave that's emerging off Africa. The model already has this one as a tropical storm. I don't know if that will be the case quite yet, if it's going to develop that quick, but it easily could. Now, in terms of 92L, this is a storm we might need to watch in the future for the Lesser Antilles. Now, again, just like Florence, it's a very long way away, so anybody in the Lesser Antilles can get their hurricane preparations ready now, just in case the storm does come up and, impact you potentially. And as you can see in this run, this is a week out. This is a week out. The storm is near Guadeloupe, and this is still a very uncertain solution. And we can see behind it, this other storm is starting to curve off towards the north. And that would be due to the trough that's actually going to be cutting off and being a crucial player in Florence's track. That one cutting off and kind of moving in towards this portion of the Atlantic. Here's the European model, 48 hours. You can see here we have a depression at least, and then a tropical storm to the southeast of, the Cabo Verde Islands, excuse me. And you can see here both the storms continue to move off towards the west. This is Tuesday. You can see still this storm is pretty far away, pretty far away from the Lesser Antilles. So you still have time to prepare for this storm just in case. And then the European really wants to bring it towards the west and into the Caribbean by the time we get to the middle of September. But again, long-range forecast, high levels of uncertainty. The storm's not even a depression yet, so we'll just have to wait and see on that. But for now, we're going to be keeping a very wary eye on Florence over the next week plus, as well as Invest 92L and the wave emerging off of Africa right now. It is September, the most active part of the season. Peak comes next week, in fact, really this weekend, and we can clearly see a lot of storms active. Stay safe, please stay safe, everybody. And for all you who are very worried, again, one more time, if you're worried about Florence right now, don't be. It is still a week away. We have very little idea of where the storm is going, and we really do not know if this storm is going to recurve out to sea or impact the United States. We really don't know at this point. Your best guess is to just go ahead and prepare just in case the storm does come to knock on your doorstep if you live along the East Coast. And even if you don't live along the East Coast, you should be having a hurricane plan ready, as this is the most active part of the season. And we could see quite a few more tropical systems coming in and impacting you. As you can see, it doesn't take a hurricane to cause significant damage. Gordon was just a tropical storm that moved into Mississippi Tuesday night and caused a significant amount of rainfall in Alabama and Florida. So again, just be prepared and just stay safe, everybody. All right, that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to stay weather alert, especially during this time.